Welcome back. We return to the realm of Abarak, in which we have found some resurrected folks and beings, and we've learned a little bit about an alleged dynasty that has raised this culture. We've also found that people who are resurrected seem to kind of believably just play out the mental patterns that were left in their brain when they died, but they don't really seem to have the capacity to take on new patterns and learn new things. It's like their brain has reached a final state, kinda, and they don't seem to be aware that they are dead. We found a city, and we've even recruited a grandma who really has no interest except for reading to her own children. And Lexi has noted that the zombies seem to be Sartans themselves, which is very strange. I don't think we have any explanation for that at all. And there's a gardener back there called Jethro who seems to be willing to follow us as well. There's also a butler in this house who's waiting to serve tea, but for that, the clock needs to ding. We haven't found a way to do that yet. We need to set the time to 4 o'clock somehow. There is a statue up there, the statue of the first dynast. The butler seems fairly aware of the dead stuff. He understands resurrection, but he doesn't seem to be aware that he is dead. Sartok. And we could use motion on the statue, but I think the rule is that the statue needs to be touching the ground, and this one obviously isn't. Here's our friend Jethro. I think we can get him to come with us too, right?
Would you accompany me?
There we go. Okay. Oh, they're both in here. The shallow cave ends in an unnatural wall covered by carved dwarven symbols, as we know. A coiled snake studies you, and he seems ready to attack. He is aggressive in a way that Monkey Squirrel was not. The dead worker's dull eyes roam around confused, right? So Grandma and the worker are visible here, so that seems like kind of a hint. The snake doesn't seem to be going after either of them. What do we have again? Is this the book of stories? No, this is the book of stories. The children's book. So Grandma reads whatever we give her, and we also notice that we can open the book to any given page. This is a poem that seemed to be about the Sartans' past. And there is a poem called Get That Snake. So what if we leave the book open to that page? There it is. Oh, and Jethro wanders off. What if we get Jethro back here, and then we give the granny that book open to that page?
Would you accompany me?
All right. I'm not sure how to cancel the current command. That's bitten me a lot of times in this game. And Jethro goes away after one move, so I can't even click a single thing. And also the refresh rate of the emulated screen is very slow right now.
Would you accompany me?
He does have a sort of Andre the Giant vibe. So we enter the cave. And now we don't click anything, and then we click the children's book. We click the dead nanny. There we go.
Don't let him go. Grab him quick or you won't last if you're too slow. Grab the snake and hold him fast. Don't let him go. Grab him quick or you won't last if you're too slow. Grab the snake and hold him fast. Don't let him go. Grab him quick or you won't last if you're too slow. Grab the snake and hold him fast. Don't let him go. Grab him quick or you won't
Hey, we made it.
last if you're too slow.
Let's read what happened during that moment of disconnection from
Grab the
Twitch.
snake and hold him fast.
The dead worker listens carefully to the words of the rhyme, "Get that snake." The idea slowly sinks in when he sees the coiled snake in the middle of the cave. He shuffles over and grabs it. If a snake could look surprised, you'd swear it was stunned by this hulking corpse. It whips around and bites him, but the worker doesn't even seem to notice. That's Jethro's advantage. It's the Jethro advantage. Alright, thanks. Cool, this is cool. Sorry, Snake, but this is the way it's gonna have to be at least for a minute. 20 points for that.
Grab him quick or you won't last if you're too slow. Grab the
Okay,
snake and
so can we
hold
head to the
him
wall now?
fast. Don't let
Far
him
wall of the
go.
cave is covered with 9
Grab him
identical
quick or
carved
you won't
dwarven
last
symbols.
if you're too slow.
Okay, let's go to it.
Grab the
You walk toward the
snake and hold
far
him
wall of the
fast.
cave.
Don't
The
let
snake
him go.
writhes and spits as it tries to escape the dead worker's grasp, but his efforts are futile. It certainly is aggressive. More so now if it wasn't before.
Lexi
says the snake needed to make a friend. No one better than Jethro. It's a friendship of a kind. The corpse's grip is too strong, and the dead nanny's constant repetition of the command to hold the snake keeps him from forgetting his task and wandering off. Right? Soon you come upon the wall, a collection of 9 stone circles, each with an ornate arrow carved upon it. Yes. Okay. So I think this is... It's one of these like lights out puzzles where you rotate every surrounding circle by clicking on one of them, you know? And I think our goal here is to get them all pointing down. Judging by the other poem in the children's book. And I think that this method is correct. If we just keep clicking on the corners, then the inner ones will rotate at twice the rate of the outer ones, or the... yeah, that's right. So we can hit this one once. I maybe should have done that first. Then we can keep doing this until everything lines up. Might just be one more time after this, right? The audio is not sounding great. This feels a little bit like Riven, honestly. Yeah, this should do it. There's a lever. Oh, this doesn't do it. Because the middle one has to be in sync with the outer ones. So what if I start playing with just these ones? Memories, Lexi. Memories. I'm a little worried about our next conversation if this is what the audio is doing now. Okay, this one might do it. Because these will all move twice, and the corners will all move once. It's looking good. And there it is.
If you're too slow,
The stone symbols click into place and the wall slides away.
grab the
Beyond, you see a
snake
dark
and
tunnel.
hold
You
him
steal yourself
fast.
and walk in.
Don't let him go.
Lexi says that's two lever memories while you played this game so far. They're very memorable.
Too slow.
Hello, dude. These caves are ancient, carved long ago by the dwarves that lived here. Tunnels run off in all directions. Okay. The plan now is to save. And we are definitely going to restart this thing. See if we can regain the audio. Please talk amongst yourselves if you wish. All right, I think we're ready to resume. Tunnels run off in all directions. Okay, so it's like an underground cave maze, and I think we're gonna have to talk to this guy. We were just discussing whether we're going to be awake for the presentation tomorrow morning. My current attitude is that I will try to be, and I'm sure there will be much discussion following it. Also, Doug, very clever. Very clever. Okay, let's talk to the guy.
Go away! I talk to no one. I wait for my lord. He will be here soon to take me with him. Begone!
The decomposing dwarf squints his good eye at you for a few minutes and then shakes his head so violently that an earlobe falls off. I'm guessing this is the dwarf who was cited as being the first test subject of resurrection spells. That must have been devotion to his lord if he allowed himself to be that subject. Doug says, my plan re-Smash Brothers. 1. Wake up early. 2. Watch the presentation. Be disappointed. 3. Go back to sleep. 4. Wake up again. Pretend it was just a dream. Also very clever. Okay, we didn't have a conversation there. Does he not believe that I'm his lord? Apparently not, and that would be quite reasonable. What should we do about it? Let's talk to him again.
Go away! I talk to no one. I wait for my lord. He will be here soon to take me with him. Begone!
Yeah, sorry, dwarfy. Can't you see I'm dead baleful here now? Okay. Can I give him some healing salve? The dwarf looks at the salve but doesn't understand your intention. A brain half-eaten by bugs is a little slow on the uptake, and I don't think we can go into these tunnels. Quite a few narrow, twisting tunnels run off this main cavern. Let's see what happens if we enter them. I'm guessing it's going to be like, you wander them and then you go back. Unlike this junction, the other tunnels are too small to follow very far. Not much problem for the dwarves. But you're big even for a patron. Can you give him something? A hug? Yeah. So, he seems intent on waiting for his lord, and back in the city, there's a statue of the lord. Don't know how much that would help, or if we can get it, or what. But also, Balthazar had a study, and the butler is currently waiting to go in there, so I'm wondering if we can do something to further that stuff along. I can't see what else we're going to do with this dwarf, and no, we cannot hug him. The only other option, I think, is magic, but I don't know what we would cast on him.
Grab the snake
Hey,
and
guys.
hold him fast.
You just hold down the fort there, all right? Cool. Can you resurrect him? I mean, he's kind of half dead. Well, it seems like he must have been resurrected because he's animated. I'm a little interested in this stuff. The statue wears a crown and holds a scepter. With the haze in the air, you can't discern more from this distance. Oh, crown and scepter, eh? Maybe if we had those things. We can try and cast motion on the statue, but I don't think it's gonna work. Here are our other available spells. That far from the ground, the spell has no immediate effect, but if someday a work crew takes the statue down for cleaning, they'll be in for a surprise. Alright, what about the clock? Clock's circular face has 16 marks around the edge. Single hand points to just before the second mark. Is it something like we could pull this? Now that you've gone through the trouble to substitute the bucket for the clock's missing weight, it seems a shame to remove it. That's a great little phrase. And the ladder isn't going to help us. That implies the spell will wait for the statue to come down. It does, and I don't know if that was just a joke or what. What else? Put, give, look. A metal hook is tied to the rope hanging down from the clock mechanism. The only V key in the whole office is broken. What do we do? I'm not sure I understand. I need ideas, folks. Oh, I see. The only V key, right? Okay. Well, you'd think we can get in here, but I don't think we're going in there until the butler thinks that it's time for tea. Or maybe it was a shortening of YouTube. Now that YouTube put... What is in my inventory so far? You can see the entire thing here. We have Zifnab's Happy Rock. We have Arianis' naming rune on a replica of the world seal. We have an arrow that will hit anything if only we had a bow. We have a few books. We gave one of the books to Granny. Maybe Granny's book might have said something about the clock tower, but I don't remember reading anything about that. We have healing salve. We have the note that describes how to get into the Brotherhood Tower's chamber. We have the naming rune of Brian? Oh no, Arianis. We still have that. We have a shear, and then we have the zinger. Let's talk to the guy. Maybe he'll give us some ideas about the clock tower.
How may I be of assistance, sir?
Now that you have the tea, what are you waiting for? Open the door and give it to your master.
Yes, I do have the tea, but I must wait until the appointed time until I open the door. Otherwise, I might interrupt a vital experiment. That would be disastrous for Balthazar's research, and perhaps for myself as well.
All right, let's get him to talk about the time.
What time is tea served?
The 4th hour. I'll recognize it when the tower clock strikes 4 bells. He expects his tea at the same time every day.
Why do you have a key chained around your waist?
This is the key to the study door. My master requires his privacy. I only open the door to give him his meal.
We've heard that.
Do you think you could open the door for me? The master is expecting my visit.
The master isn't expecting anyone today. And even if he was, he would leave his study to speak with you. He doesn't allow anyone inside, except myself.
Watching the connection again.
Why don't you let me carry that key? It looks a little heavy for you.
It's strange. Lately, this key has seemed heavier than...
Could you go in and give him a message for me?
I can only enter at predetermined times when it's safe to do so. I cannot enter simply to give a message to him.
But you're dead, so give me the key.
I'm not dead, just a little confused. I did have a bad fight with the plague some time ago, but I pulled through. I'm here, aren't I? Though since then everything has seemed somewhat fuzzy.
At least he's playful with his words.
Perhaps we should talk about something else.
As you wish.
You're as interesting as a corpse. This conversation is over.
As you wish.
Well, I have to say, it's kind of refreshing to encounter a puzzle I really don't remember exactly how to solve. But if none of us do, that will be a problem. Or none of us can eventually get there. We still need some way to activate this clock. And the dwarf didn't give us anything. He just kind of indicated that we needed to become his master. Be cool if we could fix the ladder somehow. Can we activate the zinger anywhere? No, it needs power. Does this make any sense? I wonder if we can use identify on anything around here. Can we select the scepter? We can only select the statue itself. See if we can identify the statue. Nothing happens. Evidently, the statue isn't magical. Now that YouTube gone through the trouble. I think I was confused about what you meant by V because there were other V's in that paragraph. Can we climb the rope? Oh, apparently we can. All right then. So maybe that was just a way to get an alternative ladder. I thought it was to operate the machinery. The V key was only broken for a little while. Now I understand. You grab the hanging rope and hold it fast. You don't let it go. And haul yourself up. You stand on a small platform behind the clock's mechanism. The back of the clock face takes up the west wall. All right? We turn the crank. With both hands, you turn the crank and wind the rope around the drum until you see the hook. The drum locks when the rope has been drawn entirely up. Okay. The weight of the rocks in the bucket pulls at the rope wrapped around the clock's drum. Slowly, it begins to unwind. Turn the drum and move the clock's gears. That's good. There's an escapement and a release lever and a time dial. Also, can we go out there? There's a lot to this area. We could turn the time dial. Able to advance the clock's hand to the point just before the third mark. Just before the fourth mark. Great. So I suppose all we need to do now is hit the release lever and then we'll activate the bells. But first I want to see if we can go through the doors. Oh, hello. That sounds like what we wanted. 2 metal doors are set into the walls of the tower clock along the track. Presumably they open when the statue wheels along it on the stroke of the hour. You hear 4 distinct bongs of the clock tower's bell. The doors to either side of the clock face open and an iron statue grinds inside along the rusty track. Hello, statue. Look at you. The statue clearly represents a Sartan. Perhaps royalty, given the crown and scepter he holds. The entire figure is made of wrought iron, save for the headpiece and scepter, which is carved from a glossy black stone. Give me the headpiece. Unlike the rest of the cast iron statue, the wedge-shaped headpiece is made of a different material. It looks as if it was carved from a black rock and set inside the metal tongs of the scepter. On the flat end is a single graven line. Okay. Take the scepter. Take it. The scepter is made from the same slab of iron as the statue. You can't remove it. Well, that's no good. Let's see if the headpiece is magical. Evidently not. We'll try one more time here to cast magic on the statue. Not transportation. Motion. Oh, it did take. That's good. No immediate effect. Okay. So we didn't need to use the release lever or the escapement. Or the gears. Can I take the stone? Maybe I can. The headpiece of the scepter is held firmly by iron tongs. You can't budge it by hand. That suggests that maybe I can take it. Thank you for asking, Lexi. Let's try our trusty shear. It's come through for us before. Maybe we could come back and continue to operate the clock so that the statue falls or something. We could destroy it. But for now, can we climb back down? Now we need to release the lever. Now let's go down. Let's see what's happened with the butler, see whether he's responded to the 4 bongs. There he is. Oh, you see footprints in the dust. Evidently the butler has been in the room beyond and returned already. So maybe we took too long. But he still has his tea set. And he might still be foggy enough to go in again if we activate that again. I wonder what he did if he didn't leave the tea. "16 hours? I'm hungry." Now we wait. We actually used wait. Alright, let's go directly there. Aha! Come on, friend, go in. We did it. This is a room of learning. A few books and papers are scattered on across every surface, but there's room for much more. 20 points. The dead butler jerks into motion and shuffles out the double doors, closing them behind him. Ooh, we're in here alone now. All right, so what is in here? Lots of papers, furniture. The end result is rather attractive. The furniture might be carved from rock, which is very interesting. There's a book there, I see that. The desk is the focus of the room, perhaps the place that most of the work was accomplished. We can search the desk. The desk doesn't have any drawers to look through, so you sift through some of the papers on top, but there's nothing of interest in them. Well, it at least can satisfy us that we searched it. And a window. Half circle. Cut in the wall overlooks the city bathed in the hellish red light of the lava river. That's a good use of the word hellish, actually. All right. Should we do a little reading? What kind of a book is this? I love this game's book music. Lips are a little bit dry today. So reading is not as easy as usual, but I think we'll get through it. Here we go. I record these notes in no particular order, with no particular format. Should this text be read by others than myself, I can but apologize in advance. My name is Balthazar, and I am the king's personal necromancer. My duties include raising and maintaining the royal servants, though my deeper interests lie in the pursuit of other lost magical arts, which we have learned is a no-no. You'd think resurrection might be the no-no, but no, apparently not. What an interesting culture. The following notes comprise the results of a lifetime of research into these arts, as well as my personal musings on these and other matters. Oh, we're not staying for the small talk. Not even for dwarves. Necromancy. A treatise on the subject. Here we go. I've never considered the practice of necromancy to be on strong moral ground. We have established that in order to survive in this harsh world, the dead are required to serve the living. Their labor supports our existence. But do we truly know what we're doing? What exactly are we bringing back? And how do our tamperings affect the rest of the wave? There's a term we've heard once. Zifnab was the one to speak it. The wave refers to a general universal kind of equals, like a net gain of 0 when it comes to good and evil, such that if evil arises somewhere here, good must arise somewhere else. The dead never appear especially unhappy, merely confused. In their own unfathomable minds, they exist in a time previous to their deaths. They perform the duties which they performed in life. In fact, it's almost impossible to teach the dead anything new. Their capacity to focus on unfamiliar tasks is minimal. A corpse can be given new orders, but in due course, depending on the nature of the particular specimen, it will inevitably revert to modes of behavior it demonstrated in life. There is no harm done when the tasks that the specimen performed in life have some application after death. But sometimes, those tasks have little or no worth in our world, and yet the corpse living mentally in its former reality cannot be persuaded to abandon its behavior. Occasionally, the behavior can be modified to one of useful purpose, but more often, all we can do is ignore the corpse, which strikes me as a regrettable waste of manpower. Nevertheless, even the densest corpse can be used for menial tasks, and this becomes their primary value. Corpses can be made to perform functions while the living cannot or would not, which the living cannot or would not perform. I can't recall a time when battles were waged by living soldiers. Why trouble ourselves when we have available so many who have already fallen? Their insensitivity to pain allows them to sustain blows that would cripple a living soldier. The dead don't stop until they can no longer move. In addition to war, corpses can be induced to undertake all potentially harmful tasks, such as fending off attacks from would-be predators. Claws and poison stings are fearful only to those who are aware of the consequences. Perhaps a bit of a useful piece of information when deciding what to do with Jethro. Personally, I feel that we should be focusing our magic on keeping ourselves alive, rather than resurrecting ourselves from death. With the plague more rampant than ever, we are fighting a losing battle. Even now, the dead outnumber the living. I suppose the living can still procreate, but yeah. That doesn't seem like a promising ratio. Possession. Whenever I begin to research a new spell, I always start by attempting to build runes onto established spells. Sometimes, an entirely new spell can be discovered by adding a single rune onto a totally unrelated spell. Now, this is something that we have heard about in the Nexus, right? The very beginning of the game when we learned about magic and how to piece runes together. Presumably that's how the patrons have been regaining their magical knowledge, through pure experimentation of this kind. This was the case with possession, the art of casting one's soul into a lower life form. I started by taking some basic runes and building onto them. Many of the standard spell bases turned out to be dead ends. I foraged through some of my ancient texts without much success, but I did discover an obscure warding spell of awesome power. One wouldn't think that a warding spell could be manipulated into a possession spell, but forceful spells are sometimes born from the most unlikely sources. The warding spell has a long history. I don't know if it has ever been used in Abarak. It can only be cast by a group of very powerful Sartan. The spell creates a huge shield that repels any foreign magic. I remain uncertain as to its original purpose. The diagram of its rune structure follows. There it is. And that spell looks like it does start with the same rune that Identity uses. That sounds like an incredibly useful spell, but apparently it can only be cast by a group. But still, we know it. And he seemed to imply that the possession spell was derived from the warding spell. Using this as a base, I experimented by adding variations of runes onto the end. Hang on a minute. Okay, the end would be that rune on the left, because you form spells in counterclockwise fashion, don't you? And also that's the only remaining pathway that could have an adjoining rune. The process was long and tedious, but as it happened, the only Only one rune was needed to fashion an altered spell. The diagram of the new spell follows. Oh, there it is right there. Cool. And it seems to continue this overall shape. I wonder if that means the largest possible spell would involve 7 runes, completing the counterclockwise circle. The result was the possession spell. Testing it proved somewhat difficult. There are certain limitations inherent in the magic. 1, with a parenthesis. One can only cast one's soul into a lower life form, such as the Paukas we use as beasts of burden. 2, one must have physical contact with the target, same as with the swap spell. The soul transfers through touch, so the spell cannot be cast over distance. 3, while one is inhabiting the possessed body, the original body is rendered immobile and helpless. All right. I have some theories regarding the dynamics of the spell. If the original body is for some reason destroyed, the soul should be capable of continued existence in the new body. Eventually, however, that soul will forget its previous existence and come to think and behave in accordance with the inclinations of the possessed body. But even then, the original soul should prove retrievable by the application of certain spells. It might even be possible to reconstruct the original body by using the host body while the soul still exists. Unfortunately, my research has not revealed the spells required to accomplish this, the knowledge of which would have been of great comfort during the test phase of possession. This guy is really a refiner of magic. And also, this is technically fantasy, Deathgate, but it does feel rather like science fiction in a way. Because it is so true to itself and its own systems and internal rules, and it extrapolates them rather in accordance to modern scientific knowledge. It's one of the things I find so very satisfying about this game and this world. Unfortunately, my research has not revealed... Yes, we've read that. Next paragraph. The extent of our lost knowledge is shameful. Bit of a mirror to the patrons there, except he's a Sartan. At least we think he's a Sartan. Surely our ancestors had access to these and innumerable other magical spells, and I am merely passing over well-trodden ground. If only my own library was more complete. It is a room of learning. Unravel illusion. Another art that has intrigued me for some time is illusion. I have many books on the subject, though none of them detail the entire spell. The use of this magic produces insidious results. The spell speaks directly to the reasoning center of the brain of higher animals such as Sartan, Patron, and even the mensch races. This spell persuades the brain to accept that something is there when it isn't, or that something isn't there when it is. For example, an illusion spell can create a table in the middle of an empty room. Even though the person viewing the table might grasp that the table is an illusion, he will not be able to pass his hand through it, because the spell has convinced his brain otherwise. Another example of this consistency I was talking about. The concept of a brain is clearly well established among these races. Possibilities abound for employing this spell, and I regret that all attempts to reproduce it have left me with nothing to show for my efforts. However, I have been somewhat more successful in researching the Unravel illusion spell by approaching it from reverse. My reasoning is that I might be able to build the spell by first determining how to break an illusion. At the time of this writing, I have not yet discovered the spell, but I suspect that I am very close. That's an interesting one. Although we don't get to learn how to weave or unravel an illusion from it. But we did get the hint that unravel illusion might have something to do with approaching illusion from reverse, which might be Good to know if there is indeed anything to it. The Exodus. I knew that this day would come. Water has become more scarce each day. The fields of cairn grass are withering, and the lake, our primary water source, is drying up. Soon the lake will be nothing but mud, and then little more than rock and dust. The Colossus must be failing. When our ancestors built it, the Colossus was intended to last forever, heating our world, melting the sea of ice above, and distributing its water throughout, or the water throughout. Its magic is dying. That's reminiscent of the Sartans' reunification strategy. Maybe that was their plan for this world. And I think that Prion was supposed to supply water to the other realms, but that was only after the interconnection, the final stage of their plan to connect all 4 worlds. And before that could happen, the unification had to happen independently on each of them. We must travel back into the core of Abarak, where our ancestors originated, where the remaining magic is strongest. Life will still be possible there. Although all I've seen are pictures and descriptions in my texts, I'm sure that if I could examine the Colossus firsthand, I might be able to determine the problem and help to correct it. There is no other choice. We shall sail back to Carnekros, to the palace of Clytus the 14th, the current dynast, on the northwestern edge of the Fire Sea. The northwestern edge. Out of respect, we shall beseech His Majesty for permission to live in Carnekros while the Colossus is being repaired. I don't anticipate any resistance. Who would refuse refugees, especially ones eager to help correct the problem? And as I have stated, we have no choice but to go. For life in Telestia will shortly become unfeasible. The problem of transporting the dead is an extremely challenging one. Many of them, removed from their familiar surroundings, will grow disoriented. 3 at least will find it impossible to adapt, so we've decided to leave them behind. 3. The first is my own servant, Arimas. He has been with my family for as long as I can remember. Although his thoughts are as clear as the best of the dead, he is simply too frail to undertake the journey. I will leave him here, where he is comfortable. The second is my nanny. Lately, she has fallen victim to a repetitive behavior, that of reading children's stories over and over again. Should the book she loves be taken away from her, she is despondent until it is returned. Not only will she be useless to us where we are going, I doubt she could survive the trip intact. The last is Jethro, one of the crop workers. He is among the most physically well-developed corpses that we have, but his brain is like a sieve. He waters his crops as if they were still growing, as if there was still water to pour on them. If he is instructed to do something else, he will perform that task for a few moments, only to wander right back to watering his crops. We can't spare one of the living to supervise him by continually reminding him to accompany us, and we haven't time to train one of the dead to do it, so it would be best to leave him here. An ending. I leave these notes for you to find, reader. Their purpose is to shed light on who we are and where we have gone, so that you will follow in our path. Do not remain here. Life is impossible. Follow us to the core, where we have a fighting chance. And a new location is revealed. You've learned 2 spells, 10 points. You close the book and replace it in your inventory.